All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to open the dialogue for the discussion very, very soon. But before that, we have a speaker address that's going to take place on stage. We're going to discuss about enabling financial institutions better support MSMEs through AI-powered solutions. First, I'm going to invite on stage Mr. Ashutosh Tandon, International Finance Corporation, IFC. I request you to please join me on stage. Can we have a warmer applause from the audience, please?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think the idea of the panel today, where we're really covering what financial institutions can be doing when it comes to tools, solutions for MSME finance. Before the panel, the idea of a short presentation is to set the context. There is work which the IFC has done recently to really try and understand the market when it comes to which kind of solutions are available, both on the AI side and the Gen AI side, which can be really useful for financial institutions, which financial institutions are already using. So I'll just spend 5-6 minutes providing a broad context. So this is just to set the stage. The overall financing required for MSMEs in India is over 325 billion. So there's a lot of financing which still needs to be done. There's a lot of tools which are being used by financiers across banks, NBFCs, SFBs, and more broader to really address this segment. But we're really starting to see that there is an increased usage of tools which, of course, financiers have been using for many years now. But more recently, in the last couple of years, a lot more solutions, not only AI, but also Gen AI solutions have started to be adopted. So this is just setting the context that there is a huge scope of these solutions. We can see the broader number mentioned, 100 billion financing expected to be generated through these tools by 2027. So a lot of potential, including in India. Just to also set the context, this is also something which very clearly for Government of India, for the regulator, is very important. We are seeing that since 2018, since the National AI Strategy was set up to now, the India AI Mission, of course, announced in 2024. And more recently, earlier this year, we have the Framework for Responsible and Ethical Enablement, the Free AI Committee report, which has just come out. So again, just to set the context, it's very important for the regulator, for the government, and the MSME financing area. We saw the potential for financing, a huge scope there. Just to give a broader overview, when we talk about AI, Gen AI solutions, when we have spoken with a lot of banking partners as IFC in the last 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and we are really seeing that it's the retail solutions where are really being adopted when we talk about AI, Gen AI tools. So again, when we look at some of the solutions which are being adopted, we can see that AI chatbots is something which a lot of financiers have started to adopt. We are looking at things like intelligent data and document processing. And I think a key thing to note here is that we, of course, are discussing today more on MSME finance. There are tools and solutions which have started to be adopted. But I think a lot of FIs, when we speak with them, they are learning from the retail solutions where these solutions are being adopted by them. And they are trying to now also move to the MSME financing sector. We have also mentioned some of the solutions, which in the MSME finance space are starting to be adopted. Again, just mentioning a few in terms of looking at KYC, looking at robo-advisors and others. But the broad messaging is that the retail tools have seen more adoption, and we're slowly starting to see the MSME finance tools also being adopted. This is just an overview, of the study which we carried out. This is again to just help set the context. We spoke with both vendors, financial institutions. I think the key message from the players which we spoke with is that while everyone has started to look at these tools, of course, Gen AI in particular is the buzzword. So a lot of the financiers have started to discuss this as potential tools they want to explore. But in terms of actually moving ahead with pilots, moving ahead with actual adoption of solutions, we are still relatively early on, when it comes to the Indian market. So, when we look at the last line, it basically says that we are still looking at over 65, 66% of financiers are in what we would consider as, laggard stage or early adoption stage. So a lot of potential for solutions to really be adopted by financiers. This, again, of course, is coming out as some of the key challenges. I think important to mention that, there are different challenges which, again, financiers mention from their side, that to adopt these solutions for MSME financing, what are the concerns? I think the key one to highlight right up front is the data quality issues. Now, of course, we understand, especially to use GenAI solutions, you need to be having, robust data. You need to be creating that data lake. So this is something which, we are seeing that a lot of financiers, when they're starting to explore, but it's still one of the key challenges. One additional thing to, of course, mention when it comes to challenges is having the right quality of personnel, both in terms of the data scientists, as well as internally building the capability of the IT teams to be able to either develop these products internally or be able to actually have these products deployed when they work with partners. So, some of the key solutions and some of the key challenges mentioned here. This is just a snapshot. I think, I mentioned the study. We spoke with 12 to 15 players. It's again highlights through a snapshot that, across public sector banks, private sector banks, NBFCs, sectoral bodies, there's different levels of adoption, but still a lot which needs to be done. So, you might have one or two players which can be looked at as, being really innovative, but there are a handful right now in India, maybe a lot more in emerging markets like Hong Kong and Singapore. But for a lot of the players which we spoke with, still a lot which needs to be done in terms of adopting these solutions and understanding what needs to be done internally within these firms. This is, since we're talking about MSME finance, I think this is a key slide, I think even to set the stage for the next panel discussion, that there are a lot of solutions across the value chain which have started to be adopted. But again, there are different levels of adoption. In some cases, when it especially comes to, say, for example, KYC, credit assessment, a lot more willingness to actually, go ahead with these tools being adopted. But as we can see, there are different solutions which we have put out, and a lot more which can be done, especially when it comes to things like post-disbursement, debt collection, and others. So that's just to give a broad overview of, what we'll be speaking in the next panel. This is, a broad toolkit on the basis of which we actually did the study. And of course, we are very happy to speak as IFC also with any of the financiers in the room regarding the broader toolkit. But this is important that when we look at GenAI tools and solutions, which are the metrics which we look at. So this is just, a snapshot which I'll leave the audience with. Thank you. And I look forward, of course, to the panel discussion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ashutosh Tandon, Operations Officer, Financial Institutions Group, FIG Advisory, International Finance Corporation. Can we once again please give him a warm round of applause? He has very beautifully set the context for the discussion that we are going to have here on stage. Like I mentioned earlier, we've all been hearing MSMEs, this word more so than ever. It's not like they have not existed. They have existed forever. But it is only now in the recent years, through policies, through the right infrastructure, through the right focus, that they have grown and they have emerged from places which has really helped the economy. More so from rural India, all of the MSMEs coming together have really helped propel the economy. And as a woman, I feel very, very proud to see a lot of women entrepreneurs leading the MSME sector. This discussion, like I mentioned earlier, is about propelling them further with the help of AI. As I mentioned, our topic of discussion is about enabling financial institutions, FIs, better support MSMEs through AI-empowered solutions. I'm first going to invite on stage my moderator for this session, Ms. Fangfang Jiang, she is the Digital Financial Service Asia Lead, FIG Asia Upstream and Advisory, International Finance Corporation, IFC. Can we please welcome her with a round of applause? Let me also introduce to all of you the panel that is going to join us on the dais. First, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Srijan Kaushik, the Operations Officer, International Finance Corporation. Mr. GPJ Gupta, Head Large Tech Projects, Innovation and Transformation, Aditya Birla Capital. Mr. Maxim Afanasyev, Financial Services Industry Head for JAPAC at Global GTM Solutions and Strategic Industries, Google Cloud. Ms. Ashwini Ashokan, EVP of AI and M2P Fintech. She is also the founder of Mad Street Den. And finally, I would also like to invite up on stage Mr. Sudarshan Chari, MD and Head SME, DBS Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give all of our panelists and moderator a warm of applause as they begin the discussion on this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this very exciting panel discussion this afternoon. So I would like to actually start by inviting you to do a quick round of survey, just to show your hands. How many of you are using AI personally or professionally on a daily basis nowadays? Hands up. Wow, almost everybody. That's very impressive. So the next question is that, how many of the institutions, your institutions, are using AIs or AI-empowered solutions in your institution nowadays? Your own employer. Okay, we see much less hands this time. And that tells us something, right? I think today's AI compared to decades ago is quite different. In the past, when we talk about classic AI, we mostly talk about machine learning, deep learning. So it's more to empower the back office function in financial institutions. But today, in 2022, with the introduction of generative AI from OpenAI, really brings this AI solution to each one of us, to our life, and also to SMEs themselves as well. So now we have a bigger chance, and we have better foundation to really leverage AI to better empower MSMEs finance. So today I'm joined by a group of distinguished speakers from leading banks, from the solution providers like Google, and I'm also joined by distinguished guests from M2P Fintech and also Aditya, Birla Capital. So in our panel discussion today, we will explore what are they doing in their specific institution, leveraging AI to support their MSME clients or even a broader financial inclusion agenda. So I will start by actually asking all of you a question. Can you please share with the audience, what are some most exciting work you're doing in the SME finance space by leveraging AI? Who want to pick the question? Maybe I can start from you.
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the opportunity. So, one of the most exciting work that's being done. Again, it's yet not commercialized. It's around using the behavioral score and preempting what the customer would need. Essentially, in terms of delivering credit and providing capital to MSMEs. The historical problem around MSMEs not getting debt capital when they require the most. AI can not only solve it, AI can actually preempt it and make the credit available even before the need arises. That's the work that we are trying to do, and I guess that's immediately kind of targeting the most required area for MSMEs, which is timely availability of capital. So that's one sort of wow idea that we're kind of working on.
Thank you very much. We heard one interesting case from DBS. And I know actually DBS is introducing hundreds of AI use cases.
Yeah, this is one among the many, but since you asked me what's the real wow, I think from an MSME standpoint.
Predictive AI is the thing you are thinking most exciting right now, right?
That's right, that's right.
Okay.
At M2P Fintech, we're an AI partner, like an AI transformation partner to a lot of our MSME customers out there in the market. And so think of us as promising holistic AI transformation to the companies that we typically end up working with. In terms of wow, I'll talk about a category rather than a use case, because I think every category of, workflow has like hundreds of use cases that you can think of under it. I think bringing about automation in the process of lending, as an example, has been one of the most, I think, prolific, piece of areas that we've been seeing in the market, right? Especially at this point of time in India, everything is about lending, right? It feels like everything is about lending. And so bringing about AI-based automation to just keep up with the pace of lending that's happening in the country is one of those things that we do.
Fantastic. I think for MSMEs, many times it's very difficult for them to get a loan. There's a very heavy paper process. So we have seen more and more rising innovations and make the loan decision happen over seconds, right, by leveraging alternative data. So that's clearly a very impactful use cases nowadays we have seen. Anything else? Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here.
Yes.
We implemented actually a couple of solutions by using the GenAI, but which are very related to the MSME I'm going to talk. First is onboarding the customer. We have a portal called as Udyog Plus. When any MSME comes to our Udyog Plus portal, if they dropped for any reason, earlier we used to just make a call, and we speak with the customer and understanding that why they dropped, and we used to guide. Now that entire thing is handled by the GenAI, and actually GenAI understands that why actually customer dropped, and call also made by the GenAI tool, the bot, which will advise the customer that why the customer is dropped, what customer need to do to get onboarded and complete the journey. That is the first onboarding journey we implemented for the MSMEs. Second journey exclusively we implemented for the SME and MSMEs is that intelligent document reading. Because you get a lot of documents, because India is different geographic areas has got the different kind of documents, which has to be given proof to the organization or financial institutions that one is the bank statement, second is that property documents, especially in different languages. The intelligent document reading bot helps to extract the data and validate the data and pre-fill the data. And because of this, actually the turnaround time is reduced drastically. Earlier, it used to take 7 to 8 days. Now probably it is taking less than a day. And if there is any discrepancy in the documentation, the immediately bot will go back to the MSME customer and advise the customer that, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 documents are right. And this set of documents have got the discrepancies. And the bot advise the MSME customer to reload or re-upload the documents. This is a second use case we implemented for them. And third, we implement for the collections. Actually, the entire collection pre-intimation to the customer goes through the bot. It is like, you don't feel that it is a bot calling to the customer. It is so natural language where the bot speak with the customer, inform to the customer saying that, okay, this is what is your EMI due on the so-and-so date, keep the funds ready in our bank account. And this goes very frequently, correct? First 30 days, then fortnightly, on the one day before the EMI due date, the call goes to the customer so that customer is well prepared to keep the funds in the bank account. These are 3 use cases exclusively implemented for the MSMEs and SMEs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gupta, for sharing those exciting 3 use cases. Now let's maybe turn to Google. I would be keen to learn, I mean, you as a major service provider empower financial institutions. How do you do that? What are the secrets behind it? Can you share with the audience?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you for the amazing use cases just shared by Sudarshan and by others in the team. And for Google Cloud, we do work a lot with financial institutions. Actually, FSI for Google Cloud is second largest industry and the fastest growing industry. One thing which we do differentiate beyond just bringing the best-in-class technology is actually which is more the IT discussion, how it's compliant, where it's sold, etc. But actually combining this with the outreach of the Alphabet Group ecosystem, this brings it to the next level of discussions which are solving the business problems, engaging with the business stakeholders on the innovation, how in a completely new way with AI plus outreach to Alphabet Group ecosystem, you can understand the needs, the perspective, the structure of MSMEs. Think about it. Here in India, 98% of the population are using Android phone. Most in the room are probably using Chrome browser. When you were navigating here to beautiful Geo Center, you probably were using Gmaps. All this ecosystem outreach, when combined with the best and compliant in AI technology, helps to understand in a completely new way how you can service small, medium enterprises. And this is what we bring as a Google beyond just simply cloud technology.
Thank you very much. I think the survey we did earlier today also shows that AI has reached the individual more than reaching the financial institutions, surprisingly. Yeah, I think part of the reason stands with what you have just explained to us, right? Very high penetration on mobile phone, and also thanks to the technology like Google has provided. So I want to also later invite my colleague Srijan to share a little bit about the overall landscape in India in the AI, because I mean we have a recent survey done by RBI showing that around 20.8% of regulated entities in India are actively deploying AI. At the same time, 67% are actively exploring new use cases. So there's definitely room to do more. And from your perspective, since you work very closely with RBI, can you share with the audience some of the initiatives, some of the incentives, some of the maybe sandbox have been put in place to encourage usage of AI, especially supporting financial inclusion agenda?
Thank you, Fangfang, and lovely to be a part of this esteemed panel. If we just zoom out a little bit, and that's what the team I represent at IFC does, we work on enabling environment and policy and regulatory reform issues, which can open up avenues for private sector participation. So if you look at this ecosystem, if we zoom out and look at it, we have, you have the fintechs, which are solving problem statements for lenders with regards to MSME underwriting. Then you have this whole lending ecosystem, your MFIs, SFBs, NBFIs, and banks, which are using the partnership with fintechs at the front end and tech at the back end, AI at the back end, to better serve their customers and also reach scale quickly. And then if you go beyond that, you have this enabling environment ecosystem of policymakers, regulators, state governments, industry associations, tech providers like Google. So all this is working together to solve a common problem. And what we are hearing from the government and the regulator now is that their ask to multilaterals like IFC, World Bank has changed. They are saying that the time is no more for working on siloed interventions. They are asking us to join hands to achieve scale, because the immediacy of what needs to be done is very urgent. So it's a very clear ask that no more working on siloed interventions. Look at how can we join hands across this entire ecosystem to solve a problem at scale and holistically, right? So for example, we have interventions like NASSCOM partnering with the government of Gujarat to set up a center of excellence in AI, right? Which will also focus on MSMEs. That is one aspect. And recently, and very important part of this ecosystem, which will provide direction in the future, is the launch of the free AI committee report. I'm sure most of you will be cognizant of that. So this is a committee which was, it's an interdisciplinary committee chaired by the RBI, and it has laid down the foundational principles or framework for adoption of AI in the financial sector. So it's not telling you what to do, it is just laying out a guidance for frameworks or principles that you'll have to follow. And going forward, our understanding is that anybody who's working in this space, especially lenders, the closer you are aligned to these principles, the better your chances are for regulatory and policy acceptance as well. So we are also thinking on those lines. So, and one initiative we have tried with the RBI is similar to the presentation that Ashutosh presented. We also did a policy scan of best practices which are being followed in other geographies, which the RBI is very keen to understand, but not copy paste and apply them to the Indian context. They want to extract the best principles and see what fits with the localized Indian context. And that was some of the thinking behind the Free AI Committee report as well. And Fangfang, if I may have the opportunity to invite Maxim now, since we are talking of enabling environment, a key issue that comes up, and perhaps contentious, and we would like to hear Maxim's thought on that, is regarding data sovereignty when it comes to Gen AI. So perhaps over to you, Maxim.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for bringing this point, Srijan. Data sovereignty is very important. To be compliant with the regulations is critical. You don't want to end up in a situation when, with the best intentions, you are implementing Gen AI use cases and then find out that, for instance, your data out of here, out of India, are flying somewhere to the US, gets processed there, and then get returned back, maybe even without storing in the US. But it creates a lot of issues with the compliance. We as Google, we are the only cloud provider which has Gen AI models, Gemini, sitting in the data centers here in India, meaning that no data of the financial institutions in India would be flying outside of the sovereign borders. And this way we are helping the nation to stay secure and protected.
Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so that actually brings us to the next topic, which is risk. Because we all know that AI can empower us, empower SME, and it can also empower hacker. They can also use AI to make fraud cases. How can I believe, as a financial institution, if I'm giving a loan to a person and this person uses his phone to do a selfie, whether it's a real person behind it or it's a fake, right? So I want to now learn from the industry industry leaders. How do you introduce the right risk mechanism to mitigate the potential risk of AI? What are the framework, what are the governance you have put in place?
So we follow something called a payoff framework within DBS, and this framework was kind of put in place even before AI kind of came in. I mean, it was put in because there was a lot of buzz around working with ecosystems for making lending available, even consumer lending for that matter. Ecosystem was way to go a few years prior. I mean, it's still prevalent now. So we put some governance structure. What PURE stands for is being purposeful, it has to be unsurprising, it has to be respectful, and it has to be explainable at any point in time. So it pretty much covers all the governance aspects that one needs to be mindful of. And if one has to kind of refer to the RBI framework, it also talks about some of these elements around usage of AI, and how it is putting the customer to kind of any kind of inconvenience in any manner, be it data privacy, be it using the behavioral data to kind of do predictive AI. Are you infringing into the privacy matters is what essentially the the RBI is also alluding to. And this framework pretty much covers most of it. While there is a bit of sharpening of edges that will happen over time as the product gets to some bit of maturity. But this is the framework that exists within the bank for us, and we pretty much do a very thorough and deep analysis around this framework. Each time we think about a use case, roll out an LLM on this, figure out how, before the POC. So we keep doing this on an ongoing basis so that this kind of tested all the time. Yep.
I think, there are almost from a framework standpoint, you can think of it as three things, right? One, before an incident happens. So it's almost like preventative. How do you actually think of risk through the lens of what are the things you can do to prevent any issues happening to begin with, right? And I think in the preventative side, it's, I think like Sudarshan pointed out, the ecosystem itself has lists that, you're constantly looking up, of people that you don't want to allow through the system. So there's lots of different, I think, ways to prevent, right? And when you're seeing something come in, and a loan come in, a name come in, a particular person with a, history come in, there's ways to prevent. So I think from a framework standpoint, looking at it preventatively is the first part. And then the second piece of it is when something happens, right? So you flag it, and then you have models, right? So you have AI models, you can talk about anomaly detection, right? And in this part, which is about in the present, and you're having to flag issues that are popping up, I think data integrity is very important. And I think this is where, everybody loves to talk about AI use cases, but at the end of the day, the foundation layer is really how good your data is, right? And very hardly, I think we spend time dealing with the ugly part of the AI story, which is just bad data, right? And one of the ways in which you can actually be very proactive in dealing with risk and dealing with, fraud, both two sides of the same coin, you end up basically having enough data, enough attributes, rich data that will allow you to flag it, like on the go, very quickly, right? And then there's a third piece of that framework, which is after something has happened, right? And so at some level, for us as an organization, thinking about the data story, thinking about the history of that data, right? And so it becomes a loop. You're constantly building context of that data, of all kinds of, over time, so that you can flag it ahead of time, you can flag it while you're in the middle of an issue, as well as, post. So that's a kind of framework that I think becomes very relevant when you're dealing with.
Thanks a lot for sharing. I think this is very powerful, right? Before, in the middle, and after. What can we do? So, and I also very keen to look at the ugly part. The ugly part, the data quality or data part, right? Especially in the MSME space. We know a lot of data are still in the paper format, and it's not really digitalized. So do you see any innovative solutions around it? I'm asking this because actually 2 weeks ago, exactly the same time, I was moderating also an AI session, but in China, with a number of leading digital banks. So some of the use cases they have been sharing is quite interesting. They're saying you don't have to look up and down for data. There are lots of data already there, but people have just not yet realized it. Just to give you one example, what they're doing, which I found quite interesting, is it's less in the MSME space, by the way, more for individual. So for instance, maybe you have applied a loan from bank, and I'm your colleague, I'm also coming to apply for the loan. They know you, but they don't know me. So instead of ask my company to issue an employee license, put a stamp on that, what they have been doing is to check whether you and I, our mobile phone, connect to the same company Wi-Fi during working hours every single day for 1 year or half a year. By doing so, they can almost guess if we use the same Wi-Fi link. They can almost guess we come from the same company. So they can use it as a proxy to estimate how much money I might earn, right? Instead of, putting all those evidence or call the employer to validate whether there's a person called this, working this company. Yeah. So I think I'm also very keen to learn from our panelists here the effort you have made to look at different alternative data source to make financing to MSMEs easier. I'm sure there will be much more innovations happening in India, so I'm keen to learn from each one of you, if you can share.
I mean, I can give you a couple of examples very recently. One of the companies we end up working with has a lot of field folks, right? Like field investigation, FI folks out there. And one of the things that happened when we rolled out our data digitization and kind of onboarding, for lending automation, we were rolling out our products. One of the things we were encouraging, see, at the end of the day, AI is really a lot about transforming people and practices. I think we tend to focus a lot on the technology, but at the end of the day, it's really about helping people change the way they deal with a situation. Because if that adoption doesn't happen, no amount of AI that you're going to throw into the picture doesn't work, right? And so we were equipping field investigation folks who were basically collecting, all the loan documents and everything with like image-based collection of data, right? So it's kind of real time. So you're taking those pictures, someone else is able to look at it real time and then provide feedback, something is missing, something is available. And then you're talking about, and that's one example. Another example, I think very recently, the team was in Africa, South Africa, and we were talking about kind of taking pictures in people's homes. While it does feel like very invasive, there are lots of segments of folks who are very comfortable with you kind of, getting a sense of the assets in their home live, real time, right? So that you can instantly tell if you're having branded appliances in the home, I mean, you're getting a very different view of the home. So there are many, many ways of thinking about data collection, data integrity, data richness. Of course, I think every country will have its own privacy guidelines and borders around there. But those are a couple of examples of.
Very interesting. Anybody else would like to share?
First of all, yes, a fantastic example. I want to build a little on that. Actually, already here in India, we have financial institutions clients who are actually using the pictures which they receive from SMEs or from individuals, are able to pass those pictures to Gemini. And because Gemini, which is Google's GenAI model, is grounded on the Google search, it's able not just only to understand what is these items on this image, but actually what is the worth of those image if you have, as a financial institution, later to sell them as a collateral. And imagine that there is a shop which is selling different food, different items, just a corner shop. Then the owner of the shop makes a picture. You as a financial institution receive this picture. GenAI in real time understands what is this shop is about, where it is located, using GMaps data, and then what is worth all the inventory which is on the picture in that shop, and helps you in almost real time to understand what kind of the loans you might be able to offer to the company. And this is already reality here in India. That's one example. Another example is using GMaps and geospatial data for the agricultural sector. And we are also seeing massive momentum happening in that as well, to predict what is going to be the harvest, what are the, and even advise those agricultural SMEs on how they need to approach their business.
Thank you very much. That's very interesting, those two cases shared. Yes, please?
Yeah, we implemented our more use cases, like legal documents, because if the security is any of the mortgaged property, the entire legal documents has to go through. In India, different states has got the different registrars and different documentations. And by using the GenAI use case, what we did is that we have the standardized template from the legal department. And what are the documents uploaded by the salesperson on the ground, the documents will be read, first time read and authenticated, validated by the app itself. So that at first cut verification is not required to go to the legal department, but the app itself will verify the entire documentation, and it will give the scoring, and based on the scoring, the sales guy can forward back to the legal department. That eases the entire process for the sales guys, and as well as the customer. There is no truant for the documents. Second, we are working on one of the use case where the MSMEs and SMEs, when they tender for any of the work from the public sector undertakings, once if the contract is awarded to the respective MSME, how this solution will help the SME is that how much is the raw material is required, and it will predict that what will be the raw material cost in future. based on the pre-ratings available with us. A lot of data is uploaded in the solution. And it will tell the estimated raw material cost, availability of the raw material, and it will tell the SMEs and MSMEs that what will be the approximate cost. At the same time, it will inform to the financial institution that how much should be lended, so that it will take care of the risk, and at the same time, the correct value of the money will be lended to the SMEs and MSMEs.
One of the, if one has to kind of look at the landscape in India, and given that there is a certain number of MSMEs, not MSMEs and becoming MSMEs each year, the amount of data that is required to cover almost all risks, be it fraud risk, security risk, credit risk, pretty much everything, you have data which can be independently fetched and validated. It's about putting up a journey. For example, today there is a company new to credit is a big space in India. So there is enough and more data available to kind of ascertain the business activity levels and putting a framework around it wherein you can underwrite and lend to these companies. So data availability, maturity of data, and usage models on all the scale, I think India would be in a mature sort of a bucket rather than starting off. And this is vis-a-vis other economies in Asia. So that's where I think the learning curve on Gen AI, and my fellow panelists can kind of agree or disagree with me, the learning curve on Gen AI would be quite steep in India because of this infrastructure enablement that we have at this point in time.
Yes, I fully agree. I think, as we have seen from the audience earlier, the foundation definitely is already there. I think it's just a matter of time, and hopefully this is a steep, right, growth that the financial institutions here can really moving from exploring stage to really deployment stage. So more use cases we hear from the panelists, the more encouraging and more confident we say that they will come very soon. So we have around 9 minutes left, and I really want to give the audience at least the last 5 minutes to ask some questions, because we want to stay as interactive as possible. But before I go there, I really want to ask one more question regarding what are the challenges you have seen in this journey, right? Whether this can be internal capacity constraint, or can be infrastructure constraint, or can be the risk constraint, anything. Any risk or any challenge you have seen in order to be successful. Yes, please go ahead.
So I will not call it a challenge. I would still kind of classify this as sort of a learning curve issue, in the sense that what is the dollar value you assign to any Gen AI use case? I think it's still not established fully. You talk about a customer service use case. What is the incremental productivity upscale that you get? It's still not established, but I think it's in flight. It will get established in some time, sooner than later, I believe. But that, I think, is one sort of a challenge in widespread application. Yep.
Cost to benefit analysis, right?
That's right. Yeah,
So
cost to benefit.
How to measure the success, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a very valid point.
You know, I'll take maybe 30 seconds to share a story. At one point, we were an AI transformation partner for all kinds of industries, not just finance related. And how many of you know this brand Nalli? Which is like a silk sari brand yeah, well, a lot of hands at the back, in Chennai, right? And I remember us walking in and trying to sell our image recognition software to them. I'm talking 2015 year, right? For helping people, detect and buy similar clothes that they would buy at a store. And the founder basically looked at me and said, I have a guy who's been with me for 40 years. He puts a chair at the corner of one of my largest Nalli stores, and he stands on it during rush hour, and he is scoping every person that walks in through the door live, doing profiling, and signaling my guys standing on either side of the store saying, get that person, get this person. So it's like a real-time profile customer segmentation going on by one man, right? And so this guy looked at me and said, explain to me how your AI is going to grab the tribal and history knowledge of my team from the last 40 to 50 years, which has imbibed my brand's value systems, and I'm probably paying the people 1/100th the cost of what you're probably going to spend on your AI, on the cloud, on the systems, on the on-prem installation, and everything to do with that. I think this is India's biggest problem, right? For anything your AI and technology can do, there are going to be people with a large amount of history in the domain, in the spaces that they have been, with information that is so much wealth, right? It is wealth. At the end of the day, each person who's gone through these experiences over the last 20, 25 years is like literally walking, talking wealth of information in that domain. And you know, as someone who's powering a lot of institutions around the country, I think we constantly run into this. How do you actually build on the wealth of the people who have this experience and who have done this for a long time, acknowledging the fact that AI interventions are extremely important, right? It's not an either or, but how do you actually build on top of that and have AI imbibe all that? I think this is going to be the point of debate for the next 5 years, at least in my opinion.
Just on that, I want to add one use case I have seen in other markets, which is exactly a solution to this. So there are some countries where they just work with hospital, and they actually pull out the diagnosis result from the top doctors, hundreds of top doctors, top performing doctors from hundreds of hospitals, and feed the data into AI and create AI-powered doctor and use a doctor virtually through their mobile banking phone. So I think if the experience of those people can be documented in a digital format, then that will make the magic happen. Otherwise, I understand what stays in the brain, it's very difficult to get out, right?
So much of AI adoption is really going to come down to people change and people management over the next, I think if we have to crack that change management, every time there's a new piece of technology, there's a massive cultural transformation that happens, and I think the country really needs to, also wrap its head around that, right? We have so many people that are doing these jobs, so how do you actually layer AI along with that rather than position it as an either-or story, I think is going to be the challenge for the upcoming.
Fully agree, fully agree. AI is supposed to empower us instead of replace us. Okay, so I think you have one, because I do want to leave some time for the audience, but if you have burning response to this question, please.
Yeah, in addition to the CBA, actually when you implemented any of the GenAI solutions, the ground level reality is that the existing monolith systems, integrating with the monolith systems is going to be biggest challenge what we are facing it. Second is that environment, because this all solutions going to sit on top of whatever the existing systems you have it. End of the day, if someone come and ask you that, okay, are you replacing the people? Are you replacing the existing systems? As of now, we don't have an answer. And only answer we keep giving it to the people is that, okay, GenAI is not going to replace anything. And GenAI is going to only complement to the humans who is working on it, so that we implemented concept called as HIL, HOL, that is a human in the loop or human on the loop kind of a concept. We are using it and we are implementing the solutions.
Thanks, that's beautifully
said.
said.
Sorry, very quickly.
Please.
From an ecosystem point of view, a critical thing is capacity building, which can be thought of at two levels. So one is the operational capacity building within these institutions, the workforce that will be designing and implementing AI solutions. And what we are hearing from the industry is that it's not as smooth. There are some demand supply issues there that these institutions are facing with regards to procuring talent, AI talent. And the second capacity building is the strategic thinking about AI. So this will be at the senior management level of these institutions, and that's where responsible AI comes in very importantly. So which is where the framework for responsible adoption of AI outlined by the Free AI Committee, that embedding of those principles in capacity building initiatives across institutions will be, as per me, at least a key point. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so we have 2 minutes left, and that allows us to pick at least one question from the audience. Who wants to go? Yes, please. Can you pass a mic? Can you introduce yourself as well?
My name is Arvind Singh. From the discussion, got a good sense of AI in customer service areas, but to enable the MSMEs in terms of growth that this country needs. Didn't hear much about what is happening in providing credit to MSMEs using these technologies. So I'd like to request if there are any specific examples of how MSMEs can expect a better credit flow in the coming times. Thank you.
Who wants to pick that question?
So certainly that's one major use case beyond customer service, capital, providing capital. One is making quantum of capital available, also timely availability of capital, both aspects. There are several use cases around Gen AI which can potentially solve. One of the things that I mentioned that we're trying to do in DBS is that anticipating when will the client need capital through past data, usage patterns, how the facilities, working capital facilities are being used. And if you are able to put that predictive AI in and provide capital even before the need arises, that will help empowering MSMEs to kind of grow. Also, if you look at an example of new to credit, where there is enough and more data that is available in establishing size of business, scale of business, all risks pretty much can be managed through data. Capital flow becomes seamless, and that's already being visible in the market. There's so many new to credit, first time credit borrowers in the country. All of it is being enabled through data. Otherwise, credit flow to those customers wouldn't have been possible. But it can evolve further. But where we were a few years prior and where we are today, I think we've made a considerable progress is the way I would see it.
Yeah, just want to add on that. This is a very good question you have asked. So AI is empowering financial institutions so that they can lend to SMEs, more SMEs, in a more efficient way. At the same time, AI is also empowering SMEs themselves. A lot of SMEs are using AI-powered tools to better manage their business. Because not everybody is CFA, right? Not everybody understands how to manage their accounting. And a lot of banks, we have seen, especially in those digital banks, are leveraging that. They turn themselves into AI-powered CFA for SMEs as part of non-financial service value addition they provide to their SME clients. So we see more and more coming to this industry. Everybody is using AI, including myself. Yeah, so with that, I hope I answered your question, or the panelist has answered your question. Okay, good. So since we're running out of time, I would like to close our panel discussion today. And I also want to thank all our brilliant panelists for their wonderful sharing. And thank you, the audience, for being part of this movement. So looking forward, let's shape the future of MSME financing together by leveraging new technology, especially AI. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Let's have a huge round of applause for all of our panelists for not just giving their time, but also such invaluable insight. And special thanks to our moderator, Ms. Jiang, for so beautifully conducting this. I request all of our panelists to please come forward for a photo op. Let's take this opportunity to also thank our partners, country partner, IDA Ireland, and Investment in Denmark Copenhagen Fintech.